What's the depressing truth you've made peace with? Just because you think someone is the one, doesn't mean they think you are. No matter how hard you love someone, they can fall out of love with you, and there's nothing you can do to fix it. Took me a lot of self-destruction and pain to realize it. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. I hear this. I always fall harder for my partner than they do for me. I know people are fully allowed to change their feelings over time, but it still feels like a brutal betrayal every time. This person you care about and have invested so much time and effort into being with can suddenly have a change of heart and just leave. To compound matters, they deal with their trauma or issues around leaving before they do it, so usually when they go they seem fine, and you are the person left holding the check emotionally. My childhood is gone, and I have no good memory from that phase of my life. I will always have the big sad following me. I can push it down for a bit, but it will come back eventually. I just need to remember to breathe and remember I can get past it. You can do everything perfectly and still fail completely. People would rather leave you than own up to what they did, and they'll never even give you a second thought. Humans, turns out, are good at lying to themselves. There's an episode of Star Trek, The Next Generation, where Picard tells Data, it is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness, that is life. I'm not sure people leave without a second thought. You may never know how much someone who's left thinks about you. They may deeply regret what they've done and just not know how to fix it, or believe that it cannot be fixed. There will be no cure for my spinal cord injury in my lifetime. It was initially very depressing to realize, but almost 3 years in I'm kind of okay with it. They should cure other stuff like ALS first, and if it has to be C-related, cure the nerve pain, or the bowel/bladder stuff. The not walking is very low on my list of priorities personally. I'm aware of ongoing research, but have no faith in any of it. We'd have to either revolutionize neurology or be very lucky. It's been 34 years since my accident. Completely dislocated my spine from T12 to L2. I have severe phantom pain in both my legs that's worse than anything else I've ever experienced, and I was no stranger to pain before the accident. About 15 years ago I started passing kidney stones almost constantly. Even that isn't as bad as the phantom pain. The first 2 years were the hardest, but the rest really messed with me until I give up hope. Hope kept me in a state of perpetual depression and angst. Acceptance let me move on and live life on my terms. Good luck to you, my friend. One can still find joy in life, regardless of our situation. I'm likely destined for an average life. Being a kid is always thinking you are the main character destined for great things. Growing up is realizing you are a background extra in a single filler episode, if you are lucky. The people that cause the most harm to the world will go unpunished, live happy and fulfilled lives, and die getting to do pretty much anything they ever wanted simply because they were either born into wealth or managed to acquire tons of it through nefarious means. I find it more comforting than depressing, but some people will see it as the opposite. I'm entirely fine with being in no relationship. It's been almost a decade since the last one and I just don't see it as the priority that others do. I'm entirely fine with just having friends and colleagues. Hell, I'm happy. I just wanna toss it out there because some people might find my reasoning to be helpful in deciding their life priorities. This is me. I tell people I have nothing against finding a man. I just simply don't care enough, so I'm not going to seek one out. I'm perfectly, absolutely, happy on my own. If a relationship happened naturally somehow I would not fight it, but since I don't do anything, introvert here lol. I like my apartment. That's unlikely to happen. I feel the same way about kids. If I did somehow find a man that wants kids I would not be opposed to having a child or two. But, I don't really feel strongly either way. Honestly, I fully expect never to marry, and I'm perfectly okay with that. We are all loved conditionally, 100%. Some people can love their kids through a lot of garbage, but everyone has limits. People with chronic illness have it particularly rough. I'm lucky to have some support in my life, but it was a huge wake-up call for how disposable we all are. My grandpa just wanted to get to know me and the man I was becoming during his last year of life, which I was too young and too selfish to realize. Yeah, this hits home. I spent 90% of my childhood with my grandparents, I was at their house almost every day when I got into my teens and obviously found friends, discovered women, all that stuff, and then I just stopped seeing them. They're both gone now, and they died with the memories of me as a child. Although they seen me sometimes while I was older, they didn't know me because I didn't give them the chance. You can fall out of love. Yeah, I agree with this. As one of my favorite singers said, they never told us love could die before we do. That's quite cliche, but still a strong sentence in my opinion. My depression is very likely chronic. I'll be living with it for the rest of my life. There are plenty of us like that diagnosed at 19. Now I'm in my late 40s. I'll never be able to go a day without an antidepressant. I'll have bouts of depression even with the medication, but I can still function in society most of the time. So I try to live well on the good days and grit my teeth and bear it on the bad days, of which today is one. No matter how much you care or fight it, friends will stop talking to you. I put in an incredible amount of work to organize meetups for a former best friend who had clearly got tired of me, and it finally took me getting ghosted by them to realize how much time I'd wasted on someone who didn't want it anymore. It was a good lesson to learn, but damn do I miss them sometimes. That I'll be single for the remainder of my life. If you feel comfortable answering, why do you believe this? As a guy, I just don't have much to offer. I don't have a degree. I work a dead-end job. I live in an area where financial standards are very high. Startup businesses and tech companies galore. If you're not involved in either of those industries, you're swimming near the poverty line. I've never been good with courting women. I've had no problems making friends with them. But for some reason or another, I can't get a romantic connection. I chalked it up to bad luck at first, but I'm beginning to realize that there's something I'm contributing that I just can't see. I'm not an ugly person. I've been told I'm handsome. Perhaps I just don't have game. My mental health has declined for the past 5 years, and like the rest of Redditors, depression and suicidal ideation has made its rounds. Self-image had dissolved to self-loathing. I can't imagine someone wanting to date a person like me. The majority of the human race are narrow, deluded, arbitrary believers in fantasies, willfully ignorant about everything not immediately useful to them, violent, destructive, warlike, tribal as hell, and willing under the right motivation or excuse to commit any imaginable atrocity or horror on others, even their own neighbors. Humans are brutal apes with a thin veneer of civilization barely holding them back from constant genocide and cruelty. I didn't want to believe this, and I have fought this conclusion for all of my 62 years. But I'm rational. It cannot be denied. It must be accepted. Whatever glory humans achieve, they can never truly be trusted. I cannot dismiss this any longer. I was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult. Growing up in the 90s in a rural area, they never checked for that. In fact, I was pretty much labeled a problem child despite being a decent student. On top of this, I didn't mentally mature at the same pace my friends did. They were discovering stuff about themselves that I didn't even begin to discover until I was in my 20s. On top of that, my parents just didn't know what to do with me. I got treated pretty bad until I was in high school when my mom kind of figured there was something a little different about me, but most days she brushed it off. It took me getting counseling through the army to get diagnosed. Looking back, it all really made sense that I had ADHD, especially since my nieces and nephews all seem to have it. My dad passed away 6 weeks ago, and I will never see, hear, chat or get to hug him ever again, and that forever is a long time.